Hello everybody, and welcome back to Until 6, where we talk about all things related to Five Nights at Freddy's. And today we're going to be talking about Ultimate Custom Night. Now, Ultimate Custom Night was advertised as well. The Ultimate Custom Night featured all of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters from across all the games, and basically, you'll allow you to customize however you want with it, and you'll make the Ultimate Night, basically. The thing is, there were quite a few characters which didn't make the cut, and we're going to talk about the characters that didn't make the cut. Now, the first one was Funtime Freddy. Now, this is a little odd because Circus Baby, Valora, and Funtime Foxy all made it in. Even Ennard was there, but yet for some reason, Funtime Freddy was not there. It didn't quite make sense. You know, he's one of the core characters of that game, you know? So it just makes it much sense for him not to be there. Now, of course, the idea could be that, you know, he didn't want Scott to want to make the roster too big, but out of all people, he could not have included Funtime Freddy. I mean, he could have not included the phone guy, Trash in the Gang, especially Old Man Consequences, because he's not even really from a mainline game, from more of a side game. But yet Funtime Freddy got the boot. Now, Funtime Freddy could have easily been in the game. You could simply just reuse his mechanic from such a location where you have to use Bon to play an audio cue to keep him calm. As the night goes on, Funtime Freddy will start to get aggressive, and when he starts to get aggressive, you'll hit the cue for Bon, and then you'll calm down, kind of repeat, and it'll definitely add to the tension of the game. You got to manage all of these things alongside your Funtime Freddy, you know? You imagine doing that like 51-20 mode, you know, you got to do with all of these things, and there's a lot of noise, lots of noise. So to also make sure you're hearing Funtime Freddy when you know his cue when he starts to get aggressive. So you gotta hit the Bon button to set out the Bon audio to keep him cool. And I'll attack you. That could have easily worked. Now another one is, Withered Freddy. Withered Bonnie was there, and Withered Chica was there, but Withered Freddy was not. I could easily see how, he could not really have been able to figure out what to do with Withered Freddy, because, it's not have much character traits, but, he could have been like regular Freddy, just come through the other door. But he didn't want to use a mechanic like that, especially this is a very, very simple mechanic. But, still. And I do kind of see why, that's probably one of the much they could come up with Withered Freddy. Now, there's Golden Freddy. Withered Golden Freddy is there, but not Golden Freddy. Why is that? Why wouldn't you include the original, but you include the Withered version? Doesn't make much sense. But then, yet again, all the core 4 animatronics were already there, but only 2 of the Withered animatronics were really there. So maybe you wanted to pad out the character roster for them and give them more of a function. As of course, Withered Freddy probably wouldn't be able to do much with him. I bet you just be a Reaver doing what Freddy does, but on the other door. But still, it made more sense to have your Golden Freddy there. But again, you can make the argument that he wanted there to be more people on the Withered's crew, because there was only really Withered Bonnie and Withered Chica and stuff. But still, of course. Now, Endo 01 and Endo 02. Now, Endo 01, he doesn't do much in his only appearance. Now, Endo 02, he does a bit more because he appears in both the camera puppet camera and in the ventilation shaft. You can actually block Chica from getting into a ventilation shaft if he's there already. So he actually is somewhat useful because if he's there, that nobody else can get in there. So he does actually have some purpose in the game. He actually some good luck. But of course, they didn't really do much. But maybe Endo 02 could have done what he did in the actual game, where he gets into the vents and kind of blocks it. Or at least they could have maybe been one of the characters that Dee Dee spawns in. How unfortunate, you got to deal with the Endo crew. And maybe they block up the ventilation, it starts to get hot in there. That could be something like that, But I can easily see why he wasn't included. It does kind of make sense, why they weren't there. And then, of course, there's Nightmare Foxy. Nightmare Foxy was there. They had in Jacko Chica. I mean, come on, people. Why would you have in Jacko Chica, the Halloween variant of Chica, but not Foxy? It makes much sense. Now, for his mechanic, what he could have been doing in the game is that you could have, again, transferred over what he did in FNAF 4, try to adapt it into custom night. It starts with a plushie, but slowly but surely starts to transform and morph into Nightmare Foxy. And once he completely transforms, it kills you. And you had to use the flashlight to keep him in the plushie form. And it kind of starts stages similar to how he works in the actual game. It starts out as, plushie, like the hook, and the other one, and he's just right up there, So you could have done that. Keeping him from fully transforming with certain set of stages. Then, of course, there's also Shadow Freddy. Shadow Freddy's on in there. I mean, Shadow Bonnie was there, but he was only one of Dee Dee's characters. I think Shadow Freddy could have easily served as maybe kind of like one of those non-killable characters, because there are a variety of characters in the game that can't kill you, just act more of annoyances, and you make things harder for you, like Helpy or Glam or Funtime Chica, or Phone Guy, that kind of stuff that makes things difficult. It doesn't really kill you or trash in the gang. Maybe get back to something like that. Maybe that would have been pretty cool to see him actually do something. So just be there, that lazy fella just does nothing. There's nothing at all. Then there's Yendo. Yendo, he was only really a sort of a secret character in the main Sister Location game, and then he was, of course, actual enemy in the Custom Night, which of course is a canon still. But actually, you could have done something in there, just, again, maybe you could have taken his mechanic from that and placed it in there. You shouldn't have that hard to place that mechanic, just put it in there, add some more challenge on top of that. Or maybe you could have done the thing with the Scrap Baby. The Scrap Baby, you have to use the button to zap him. He's gonna like of her, You gotta zap her, and you can add on to that, zap him, and have characters work in tandem with each other, you make sure you kind of keep a watch on them. Which one do you zap? You gotta worry about do I have enough to zap him? Then after get her, that kind of stuff. Of course, Withered Foxy's not there. I mean, again, not that much you could do, with him. I mean, maybe with Withered Foxy, you could have, you could have done something with that at least. Again, talking with the flashlight, keep the flashlight flicking on him to keep him from just jumping at you, That guy's a jumper, Night guard, I'm gonna kick y'all. I can't say that. He just leaps at you, You could have something like that. And, this Phantom Foxy, you just act like the rest of the Phantoms. You could have put him in there. Extra distraction, extra deter. You cannot do much of that, It gets you more push about having to deal with people being killed. I remember when I used to play that game all the time, I was never good at the actual killing characters, so I just ram up against many of the non-killable characters as possible just to rank up a nice score. You get the cutscenes, you get the trophies and stuff like that. You could have added him in there, sitting with Phantom Puppet. And Phantom Chica, of course. But maybe you could have something interesting with her, Because, all one of the Phantoms can't kill you, and Phantom Chica could have been that one, because, everybody likes to make fun of Phantom Chica because she looks like a watermelon. What could he done with her? Well, she just kills you, She works the same way the other guys do, but she kills you. So, that could actually give you a reason to pay attention to the Phantoms and worry about them, or at least one of them. Sort of kind of like a trick, And of course, Jacko Bonnie's not there because it'd be really redundant. You already have Nightmare Bonnie, and you already had Nightmare Chica, and you already had Jacko Chica. It would have been weird. And of course, and of course, Nightmare Chica isn't there. We have Jacko Chica. What the frick, I mean, you could have done something with Withered Chica, and Jacko Bonnie would be redundant if you already had Jacko Chica, so it wouldn't make any sense to have him. Because the mechanics would probably be the same as Jacko Chica if you actually had Jacko Bonnie in there, and that'd be no sense at all, and redundant. Of course, maybe you could have something done with him. If I remember correctly, you had to keep the heat down for Jacko Chica. You should have to also keep the heat at a certain thing with him, but that would have basically kind of made it impossible for him to have both of them without one of them killing you instantly. But I don't know.
And of course, your Nightmare Chica, you should have had her. It made a lot more sense. With her now, we could have done with her, and then you could have had her, of course, send in the cupcake, you know. How sometimes in the game she'll have the cupcake kill you, just Nightmare comes and mauls your face off, kind of like in the movie. Well, what could you have done with that? You could have been like, she has some kind of audio that she's sending him down the hall, and you like, if you see it in one of the cameras, it would just be a funny animation of seeing that cookie go, woo, coming down the hall, taking you in the face. You got something like that, you know? Kind of like your Foxy from FNAF 1, but instead of her right now, though, just sticks the cupcake at you, of course. You should have done something like that, you know? I'm just saying. It's kind of a disappointment that these guys didn't get in there, because the whole point of the game was that everybody was there. That's the whole main reason the game was made. That was the main advertising slogan of it. Everybody was there, but not everybody was there. We're missing not counting Endo 1 and Endo 2 because they're kind of useless. We're missing about 8 people. 9 actually. 9 people. About 9 people.
10. Yeah, 10. We're saying 10. We could have had 60-20 mode. Can you imagine what 60-20 mode would have been like? That would have been hectic. I don't think Doc could have beat 60-20 mode. Because, I mean, sure, he's good, but is he 60-20 mode good? And you see a lot of these mods and fan games where it adds everybody. Most of the characters just, like, not characters. Or from FNAF, where, like, they're like, you know, they're like Candy Cadet, or your Prize King, or like Watermelon Clown, or like Lemonade Clown, or it's like, those aren't really characters, you know what I'm saying? And like, but if an actual character, I mean, I know Old Man Consequences here, but like, he has lore importance. Most of them don't have lore importance. They're just saying that. There's a lot to do that. Next time they make a mod like that, they should actually add the real ones that didn't get in. But that's all I'm saying, really. I hope to see you all again sometime soon. Yeah, so I'll see y'all around sometime soon. Alright, bye, have a nice time.